Alright, this is IMAX Nation 1980 here. And I reorganized all my records in my collection and decided to do them by genre. But since I have so many Beatles albums, I gave the Beatles their own section. And also because they're kind of prolific and they've covered many kinds of musical genres. So let's start. This is with the Beatles, a British album. There's the back side of it. And this is their second album. It's a classic. We got Introducing the Beatles, which was the Beatles' first American album. Contrary to what the album Meet the Beatles says, this was on VJ Records. They had the rights to only around 12 to 14 songs. I think they were all the songs from the Beatles' first British album, Please Please Me. There's the backside. I think this is, I'm not sure what version, I don't know if it's version 1 or version 2. I'll have to find that out. It's a collectible, and there's a lot of counterfeit copies, so look out for them. This is Meet the Beatles, which was the first Beatles American album on Capitol Records, although the album states the first album by England's phenomenal pop combo. It wasn't their first album in the United States. Here's the back of it, as you can see. And this was, since the Beatles were becoming huge in the United States after the Ed Sullivan Show and I Want to Hold Your Hand, that album quickly hit the market. Here's something new, and it includes tracks from the British A Hard Day's Night album and other songs. Like some of the songs in here, like Slow Down and Matchbox, those were on an extended play record in England called Long Tall Sally, and it's got the German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand, Komm Gimmer Dein Hand. This is a repressing, though, from the early 70s. There's the flip side there. Here the Beatles Tell All. This is a VJ Records interview album, and I think this is one of the last albums that VJ released, because they tried to, with the 14 Beatles songs they had, you could see they're like the Beatles versus the Four Seasons. They repackaged them and often bunched them with other artists like Frank Giffield and like over there the Four Seasons. See how much they can make out of just 14 of those songs, and through singles too. It's pretty interesting. And here we got Beatles 65. It doesn't have a jacket, and let me try to take this out as carefully as possible. It's in mono too. Of course, Beatles 65 had tracks from Beatles for Sale plus some other tracks. We got the early Beatles, which were a majority of the songs that VJ had the rights to, now handed over to Capitol, and it's sealed, as you could see, and it's in great condition. It's a later pressing from the 70s, though. It's got the Apple label. Here's a rather battered copy of Beatles 6. I didn't get this. Someone got this for me and didn't realize it was in terrible condition. This had tracks from the British Help album, along with tracks from Beatles for Sale, and also had the song Bad Boy, which was only available in the States until it appeared on a collection of Beatles oldies in the UK in 1966. Here we got Help, but this is the American version. It's got the 7 songs from the movie and also selections from the film's soundtrack, the score, which is actually pretty good. I liked it. Of course, the movie, I really like the movie. Some people might think it's a really silly movie, but that's what I think makes it good. It's really fun. Here's another copy of Help, except it's a much earlier pressing, unlike the copy I just showed before this. That was a 70s pressing. I think it was around 1978. It had the maroonish. And here's Rubber Soul. This is the British edition. There's the little parlophone symbol there. This is a really, really good album. And many critics and people say that that's when the Beatles were starting to get onto the, better songwriting, more creative. Funny thing is, this album was actually rushed for the Christmas market, but yet it had such good songs. Here's the Beatles, Yesterday and Today, and most people will know this album because of the controversial Butcher cover. This is not a Butcher cover, and this is not one of the paste-over covers that you can steam off and get the Butcher cover underneath. This is a much later pressing from the mid-70s. And it's got tracks from Rubber Soul and Revolver, which was not out at the time, so the US actually got a couple tracks from Revolver first, such as I'm Only Sleeping and Your Bird Can Sing. And it also has Yesterday on it. Of course, goes with the album title. Here we got the US version of Revolver, which the songs that are not on it are on Yesterday and Today. So the album feels incomplete without those songs. It's too bad. I think this would be the last Beatles album where they took tracks off of it and scattered them on other releases. That 11-song rule kind of faded in the United States, which made Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right here, the first Beatles album to be issued identically in the United States and all over the world, with no altered track listing or anything. The only difference with the US version is that the nonsense at the end of Sgt. Pepper is not on there. This is a monocopy first pressing with the error on the label. A little help from my friends. I actually showed that record in a much earlier video. You'll have to look through my account. It's somewhere on there. And we got stereo copies of it. No need for me to show the back of these because it's pretty much the same album. No old differences with the back, no slight differences or anything. This is the latest pressing I have. It's from the early 70s. Magical Mystery Tour, which was a full album in the United States, but a 6-song double extended play set in the United Kingdom. They didn't think a double EP would take off here, so they just took the 6 songs from the movie and 5 singles from 1967 and combined them on this album. And it's a great album. I mean, I know it's not really officially part of the canon, the UK discography, but it's great because all the Beatles, the best examples of Beatles songs from the psychedelic era, like Strawberry Fields Forever and All You Need Is Love, and when they were getting very creative with their music, it's a great album. And I think it's the album that got me into the Beatles, that and Abbey Road when I was very, very young. And of course we got another copy of it. This is a much later pressing though, from the mid-70s with the red capital label. So, more to come. IMAX Nation 1980 signing off. Alright, this is IMAX Nation 1980 here with more Beatles albums. Here's the White Album, of course, but the real title of the album is The Beatles, just self-titled. But of course, you know where it got the nickname from. See, the title is embedded into the cover there. And here's the serial number if you were interested. Of course, the cover. It's not in very good condition, unfortunately, but what are you gonna do? This is a later pressing from the mid-1970s, and it's got the title printed on the cover rather than embedded into it. No serial number either. And this one's in equally poor condition. Actually, record 1 didn't come with it, so I had a spare copy of record 1 that was in terrible condition, but, well, I wasn't going to leave it without a sleeve, so I just put it in this one. The other record in here is, of course, that of the later pressing with the reddish label. Sorry for the wait. Alright, here's a British album right here, Yellow Submarine. And you can tell it's the British album because it has the Nothing Is Real caption under Yellow Submarine, if you could see that. And the back of it has a review of the White Album. I forget what the back of the US version had. It was much different though. Here we got Abbey Road. This is also a British pressing. I got Abbey Road, that copy of with the Beatles and Yellow Submarine for $20. Somebody was selling all their records, and it's a pretty good deal. And they were all the British originals, so that was nice. And every other copy I have of Abbey Road after this is the American version. Two of these pressings are from 1969 or 1970, I believe. And the last one is a mid-70s pressing. Yep, there it is right there. It's got this shrink on it, but the record itself I don't think is in very good condition. Of course, what can I say? Abbey Road is, it's arguably the Beatles' greatest album. I don't know if I could call it the greatest. I mean, they're all very good. They're all different and unique to each other. And this is Hey Jude, which was a US-only album. And it was originally going to be called The Beatles Again. And this pressing I have actually calls it The Beatles Again on the label. So it must have been an early printing before they changed the title of the album. Pretty interesting. Here's Let It Be, of course, the Beatles' last studio album. And the recording, of course, very tough time. Some of it, a lot of it is detailed in the film Let It Be, which is not on DVD, but it was released on tape, VHS and Betamax, back in the early 80s. And those legitimate copies of the tape go for quite a lot, from what I hear. I've only seen the film via bootleg tape, not an official VHS or beta tape, unfortunately. It would be nice if they released it on DVD. And also, I heard a lot of footage wasn't used in the movie, like 3 hours of footage. I'd like to see that too. It's probably around somewhere. And here we got the Beatles, 1962 to 1966, also known as the Red Album. This was a compilation issued by Apple and Capitol in 1973, and it was originally issued to go against Beatles bootlegs that were out at the time, like the Beatles Alpha Omega, which was a As Seen on TV Beatles set. They later got sued, I think. I have to read that again. And this is a much worse condition copy of 1962 to 1966. Like that Beatles 6 album. It was given to me. They didn't know it was in bad condition. And here's the Beatles 1967 to 1970, also released on the same day as the Red Album. Of course, the Blue Album, unfortunately, it's got writing on it, but what are you going to do? And this Abbey Road and Magical Mystery Tour were the 3 Beatles albums I always heard when I was really young. My mother used to play them, and that's what really got me into the Beatles at a really young age. And here we got another copy of it, but this version's special. This is the blue vinyl edition. I saw some copies of this had a big sticker saying blue vinyl on it. And since I got time, I'll show you one of the blue vinyls. I've showed it before on my other videos, but I'll just show it again anyways. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that nice? Isn't that just really nice? I love colored vinyl records. Hope to get more of these kinds of records soon. I know the Red Album also has a red vinyl version. And there's, you can get the White Album with white vinyl too. I'd like to get those one day. This cost $80, and good deal too. Alright, there's more to come. Cymax Nation 1980, signing off.